Hi and welcome everybody to Big Guy Running, the podcast about going from average runner in the park to sub-3 marathoner. My experiences, learnings, and failures on this journey to become a better endurance athlete while also working a full-time job and running a family with 3 young kids. Hey friends, welcome back to episode number big. It's actually 13? No, it's actually episode 12, right. Welcome back to episode 12 of Big Guy Running. Thank you very much for tuning in. This week is a hustle, lots of work. Also, we go on a family trip. Tomorrow morning, actually, today is Thursday, Friday morning, we're flying out to Portugal for a couple of days to spend some time in the sunshine with the kids, hopefully get some running and some training in. Their hotel has a gym, there's some good running path. So I'm optimistic, but yeah, it's been a stressful week. I still want to get the podcast out. I think this is where the first test comes in. If I can stick to my objective to push an episode out every week. So this week, stressful week. Next week I will be traveling, so I have to kind of figure out that setup and so on. Quite exciting. Also, you will have noticed maybe in last week's episode, if you listen to it, that because I changed the way I record from doing it in Spotify itself to Riverside, which is a much more professional program, some of the technical bits I don't think are as fine-tuned as they were before. Before that it was quite basic. Now I have lots of options that I play around with. And yeah, sometimes I think the sections moving from one section to the other, like playing in music and so on, I still need to figure that out. I want to professionalize it just a little bit to make it easier to listen to and hopefully more entertaining. But bear with me, that in itself requires for me to figure it out, which I'm currently doing. But yeah, over the next couple of weeks, hopefully I can update this a little bit. Okay, enough intro talk for today. As always, I want to go through my training on my road to sub-3, and then we're going to move to the deep section where I want to talk about strength training for runners and why it's super important, why I think everybody, regardless of what your running goal is, should also do strength training and kind of what that can look like. And what I do is what I want to go through today. Awesome. As always, let's go and look at my road to sub-3. I want to share my screen again and quickly look at my plan. So this is the week of the Monday the 19th. You can see it's this row right here that I'm highlighting with my mouse. Oh, that doesn't really get more visible for you. But anyways, I came off my sick week and it was an alright week. I actually ended up running 50k, which is quite good after like 2 weeks of almost no running. I did a 12k easy on Tuesday. Then I jumped on the bike on Wednesday. I did like a really easy, like 1 hour Swift ride. Hit the garage gym on Thursday. Trying to remember what I did there. I'm looking at my Strava where I usually take the record. Oh yeah, I deadlifted, did some things like hip hinges, pendlay row. So one of my 2 training days, I will talk about, those training days a bit later. And then I did another easy 10k on Friday. Saturday we did like a long walk with a family, 6k, even longer. I didn't think about starting the watch, but then I did, so it's probably more like 7k, which was cool because the kids almost walked, like the 2 older ones walked most of it as well. For parts of it they didn't want to walk, so I ended up carrying them a lot, which I always call a farmer's walk because you carry the weight. People go rucking. I always say, like, people without kids go rucking, people with kids just go for a walk and then have to carry their kids at some point. So I was quite exhausted after that, but awesome day. And then on Sunday, I wanted to do a long run, but because I still didn't really trust my physical condition, what I ended up doing is I didn't want to do like a 30k run. So I opted for a little shorter. I did 25k, but I haven't done any hill running in such a long time. So I went to run hills. Where I'm based in Germany, it's really flat. Like, think about it as like an extension of the Netherlands when it comes to the kind of the geography, because I'm quite close to the border. There's not a lot of hills, let's not even talk about mountains. There are, however, two hills on one of my running routes, and quite often I just run by them, but every once in a while I just go and do like hill runs. And then if you want to accumulate a bit of ascending meters, then you just like do repeats on those hills. And then I've done that before. And there are different sections, and I have like a section which is shorter, and I've done like hill sprints and stuff. And then there's like longer hill runs. And like last Sunday, I really took it to the max. And I did both of the major hills, which are like, I don't know, like 100 meters high or something. And we are on like 40 meters, so they're like 60, 70 meters ascent. And I did both of them. I did one of them twice, another one once. And then there is a shorter part of the hill, which I did 10 reps on. And so I ended up doing like 430 meters ascending. And it was quite fun because my legs got really tired, and that was amazing. Usually when I run 25K, I get tired, but I don't necessarily feel it in my muscles. I feel like an overall fatigue and stuff, but not necessarily in my legs. And on that workout, feeling how my legs are tiring was actually pretty cool. So I want to do more of that and actually try to hit even like 500-600 meters ascending as a regular training. But that was my week to sub 3. I then also looked into my training plan, and because this was kind of off script of my training plan, and then I looked at my training plan and in ways to like get back into it. And I kind of started back in like week 5. I did the math on kind of where I sit with like 2 weeks missing and having like 1 week extra. And yeah, I continued there. Overall, good to be back. And onwards we move on the road to sub 3. And that's it for this week. So this week I want to dig deep on strength training for runners. And generally my observation with most runners is there are 2 camps, and one camp is probably bigger. There's the one camp of runners that really like to run and they don't want to do strength training. And that's kind of the reason why they run, right? It's their form of like staying fit, trying to be healthy, and so on. And that I think is what you see with most runners. They really like to run, and they have very little interest in strength training. And then there's the other camp, which is probably much smaller, but maybe growing. Maybe it's also just my bubble, where increasingly people that also enjoy strength training get into running, or people that are into running also enjoy strength training. And the kind of term that's floating around quite a bit is the hybrid athlete, to whatever that means. But again, it sounds cool, and I guess it's to underline that you're not focused on one specific form of being an athlete, but you're hybrid across multiple things, and that could be running and strength training, could be running, cycling, strength training, and so on. I generally think that strength training is incredibly important for runners. The benefits of strength training are widely discussed. I just finished the book Longevity and Outlive by Peter Attia, which is all about longevity, and he kind of also makes clear how strength training is like incredibly important for like physical well-being, especially as you age. So check that book out. It's like a really good read. I may do a summary of it at some point. But so I think the overall benefits of strength training for people of different ages and different conditions are kind of widely discussed and proven. And I think for a runner, I think it's particularly important to do strength training for a couple of reasons. A, it makes you a better athlete all around. Running in a way is like a very one-sided ask to your body, and it's not always good. So strength training is kind of important to make you more well-rounded as an athlete. And one of the kind of primary results, and I think that's why everybody should really do it, is to prevent injuries. If you have a strong body, if your muscles are trained, if you regularly have, like if you have a good routine, then that definitely helps preventing injuries, because you become overall stronger and probably also more resilient to things that can happen to you during running. And if that doesn't convince you, then I think it's also a great way to get faster. And the simple way I think about it is like I'm a big guy. I'm almost 90 kilo, and I wish I was 90 kilo with like a really low body fat percentage. The last time I measured, I was at like 13, 14 ish, 13.6 or something. I'm probably lower by now, but basically the way I think about it is I have to carry all that mass, and when the mass isn't like all the mass that isn't muscle is kind of dead weight I have to carry. If it's muscle, it'll function my body to run fast or faster for longer in some capacity. If it's not, then it's basically just dead weight that's not doing anything but kind of holding me back. So being more muscular and being stronger overall really it helps, should help me or should help you to get faster. And then there are other benefits which I think strength training, really makes you feel better about yourself. Obviously, running does a lot of that. Like you go out, like you run, it balances you and so on. But at least to me, there is something about like if I do a good session in the gym and I come back and like my body is really tired, or if I do deadlifts and kind of my back is just like really tired of I'm just really tired. And that's just this intrinsic feeling of like a bit like muscle aching, maybe a bit sore. It just feels really good. And then there is the kind of extrinsic point where you look better. So I generally think unless running pays you bills, I will have less respect for you if you're just skinny and then run fast. I will have a lot more respect if you're like a well-rounded athlete and you do have a athletic build. And I honestly think most runners don't look athletic to me. Again, this is my personal opinion, but unless you're like a professional and you kind of optimize for every single gram, you're probably running because you enjoy it. You're probably running because it makes you fitter. And also because, quite frankly, you don't want to be fat, right? So if that is part of the goal, then strength training is another way to achieve that goal, because even like a base layer of strength training will kind of improve your overall like build and frame. My personal journey with strength training has been over like 25 years by now. I started bodybuilding when I went to the US to do a high school exchange here in the US. I had like a bodybuilding class in school. I was in the weight room with all the football guys. I thought that was pretty cool. That's when I really started. So that was like my late teenage years. And then I did it probably until I finished school, and it was pure bodybuilding. We didn't know what the heck we were doing, but we were getting bigger. Obviously we were young, eating a lot and training a lot, and then you just get bigger. Then for a long time, I didn't do much. I went to like uni and you do other things, but I didn't necessarily go to the gym regularly. And when I was getting closer to like in my early 30s, I started freeletics, which is kind of body weight based training, and that worked really well. It's like a lot of HIIT body weight exercises, and that really helped me to get back in shape. And then I would sometimes go to the gym and complement stuff, but that kind of put me on a track where I realized, if I put in enough training, I can lose weight and I can be more muscular. Then in a couple of years later, I had like 1 or 2 years where I got really into CrossFit. I would do it like 3 or 4 times a week before work. It was pretty awesome. It was a lot of fun. It's to this day, I think, something that probably, or like the other way around, no other training has helped me develop like as much skill as CrossFit, because you do a lot of compound movements. And for compound movements, you need to not only be strong, but you also need to be incredibly, like you need to have the mobility, flexibility, and CrossFit really taught me that, like a lot of that. So I'll give you an example. I couldn't properly squat, like not even thinking about like front squat or like overhead squats. And I had to really work on like my ankle mobility, shoulder mobility, hip mobility, to even get into the form to be able to like squat and to be able to kind of do these movements. And I always say, like it's a really good school if you don't overdo it. I think it gets a bad rep for the wrong reasons, because people overdo it and then it becomes unhealthy because it has the competition factor. But if you just look at the training, it's probably the most effective way for most people to build muscle, and also to kind of learn a lot about your body, because you really have to become good at like everything. We would like climb ropes, and I'm afraid of heights, so that wasn't my favorite, but at least I know the technique how to like climb a rope now efficiently. So it's actually pretty cool to do like handstands on the wall and like all these kind of things. It has definitely, it widened my repertoire of like uh, understanding fitness and proper form and technique and so on by 10x easily. And then for a long time, then COVID came and I stopped doing it because I couldn't go to the bar studio anymore. And then for a long time I didn't do anything. And then I picked, and even during running, when I knew I should do more strength training, I wouldn't really do it. My problem sometimes is that I'm good at doing something with like full focus, but I'm not good at doing something like once a week. Like I'm better at going running like almost every other day or every day than trying to run once a week. Like I can really get into these things. And so I always struggled with like a lot of running, when to fit in the strength training. And so I didn't really do it. Here and there I would do it, but not consequently, not with like proper training. And then what happened is I ran a marathon and I cramped at like kilometer like 35 or 36. I cramped, and at the time I didn't really think about it, but obviously there was a signal that my muscles were not up to it. Also, I did a triathlon, like a middle distance triathlon, which had 90 kilometers of cycling with like some elevation, and it was on gravel, so it was quite exhausting. And I remember getting off the bike to run like a final 10K, and I was dead. Like not from an endurance point of view, but just for like muscular, like my muscles were dead. Like my legs, I literally, I couldn't properly walk, or like not even talking about running. And I think the 10K, again, they had like elevation. It wasn't like a regular 10K, but it took me like over an hour because yeah, my muscles were about to cramp. So what I tried to change on the back of that is that I wanted to be more well-rounded. Yes, running a fast marathon is still my goal, but I've always said it's a goal because it comes with other benefits. Like having a ambitious goal will push me to make changes in various parts of like my journey as a part-time endurance athlete. And so that almost comes first to me. So the changes that I try to build in is to just become much more consistent on strength training. And so I made the rule that I have to do it once a week no matter what. And the other thing that I did is that I stopped overthinking it. And I will talk a bit about my journey here, but the cool thing is that I went from, I'm big, so I'm big and tall and I look really strong, but that is not necessarily always the case. I think before I picked up strength training, I would maybe do like 5 to 6 pull-ups on a good day, maybe 10 to 15 unbroken push-ups, and then dips, which I think is one of these like ultimate measures of like overall strength because it puts so much pressure on your upper body. I would maybe do 5 or 6 and they really, really hurt. And now I'm like, now when I go to the gym, I was in the gym on Monday, push-ups, I will do 25 unbroken for you right now, probably 30 if I have to. Pull-ups, I do 2 or 3 sets of minimum 10 at any given time. And then dips really is where I see the biggest progress. On Monday I did like 15, another set of 15, and then 12. And I probably could have gone more, but it was just a warm up. I moved my deadlift up to like 120K and so on. So I've made quite some progress over the last, probably since November-ish, so like 3 month-ish. And how I did it is, and this is maybe a formula that you can follow, and I've actually recommended to others before, is the first thing I did is I just got started, and I try to not overthink it. I try to not be like too strict on me, like, oh, you have to do body weight, or you have to go to a gym, you have to do this and this and that. Like, no, I would do run and gun sessions with one of my buddies, which is where we run like our usual lab, and then we end up at like a playground where we can do some kind of workouts like pull-ups, push-ups, and so on. So we would do lots of these sessions once a week, sometimes twice a week, and so on. And these like basic body weight exercises really helped me to kind of just do something. Then the second thing is I started applying like a minimal structure. I signed up to a gym. I have a garage gym, which I use, but even with the garage gym, I couldn't find consistency. So I signed up to a local gym just to put in some new stimulus and to have like a motivation to go more often. And on the back of that, I created this like 2-day plan, 5 exercises for each day, and I kind of looked into a bit like how many reps and what exercises and so on, but like very basic structure, 4 or 5 exercises. The gym session takes me about 60 minutes max, and then I just try to be like consistent. I introduced like fixed days. In the beginning I would do, I think, Tuesday, Friday, and now I'm structuring it around my running plan. And the fifth thing I recently started doing is I just try to build in these like strength snacks. I'm using the word because Andrew Huberman used it. But what I mean by that is just to do 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there. So I'll give you an example. In our kind of family routine, my wife takes our kids, the 2 older ones, to the kindergarten. And then I usually hang out about like an hour with our youngest before I start working. And we just hang out in his room. He plays, like we play something together and so on. But in a way, if you have small kids, you know how that goes. You just hang out there and you entertain them a little bit, but really you may be on your phone or doing something else most of the times. So I started just using that time to do like 10, 15 minutes of workout. So basically I'm in his room, like our son's like 1-year-old's room, and I would just do like push-ups, sit-ups, wall sits, lunges, just anything. And I don't have any structure. I will literally do what I feel like I'm doing. A lot of my exercises are increasingly inspired by knees over toes guy. But I don't overthink it. I just do it because I figure this is not my strength training. It's just like extra. Another thing I will do is like whenever I feel like it during the day, I will just do like the max number of push-ups. Like before I hit the shower, or I don't know, when I'm waiting for something, I will just do push-ups. And again, this in itself is not going to be enough strength training, but it kind of all adds up. I started treating it like my running, where every little bit kind of helps. And then what do I train? I want to quickly talk about that because I think that has quite changed from what I used to do. When I was younger, we would just make sure the upper body is like well pumped up. We never trained legs. We never did anything else. And now, today's now actually the opposite. So I try to focus on like 3 things. One is leg strength, core strength, and then the whole posterior chain. So leg strength, I do lots of lunges, hip hinges, like all these kind of stuff, these squats. And that is already core strength, because to me squats is almost more of a core exercise, or it's a really good core exercise. I will do a lot of like lower back workouts, any kind of like abs workout that I can do. And then posterior chain stuff, what I really mean is like deadlifts, upper back, all these things. So basically I don't necessarily want to become muscular. Like I don't care. I automatically become muscular. That's just how that's just my DNA. But I want to become like much stronger, and I want to become much stronger as a person and like much stronger as a runner. And as I said, I've seen like great progress. Like my deadlift is up at 120 kilogram. It can probably, go up even further, but I'm also not stressed. I don't have like specific goals. I need to prove anything to anyone. It's just more about developing that strength. And that's been going really well. Another thing, I said this before, that I'm really starting to get into is the, like obviously, like most of us probably, I've watched like all the different YouTubers and like what they propose. And the one person that I'm really stuck with, or the one program, is the knees over toes guy. If you don't know him, check him out, but he's pretty big. So most of you have probably like seen a video of him. But from all the concepts that I watched online, I really like his approach. It's really comprehensive for strength and flexibility, and also like delivering these direct results, right? It's pretty obvious that as a average guy in his like late 30s, that is also tall and has never really done like any proper stretching work outside of, what accompanied my CrossFit, and maybe I do now for running. I'm way too inflexible. Like I'm horrible. Like my mobility is crap. And the way knees over toes guy, what's his name actually? Anyways, he combines like getting more flexible with like getting stronger and like using that to, in his case, he's a basketball player, to jump higher, but also the results he shows on other people, how they like run faster and do all these things, is amazing. And for example, one thing I always think, my other passion, cycling, I always think like my position on the bike is horrible because I'm so inflexible and not mobile. And I think you can have these like incredible gains if you can just like sit like really flat on the bike, which currently my hip doesn't let me do. And I have a big upper body. So I'm basically this like windshield for everybody riding behind me. So just increasing that mobility should, this mobility and like adding on strength should really help me there. And obviously for running, there's lots of things to gain from having stronger knees, which is kind of his main thing, and so on. So that's increasingly the exercise that I start building in. Like, check him out. I really like his stuff. I wish this program is like $50 a month. I think that's a little bit too much for something that I just do on the side. I wish it was a bit cheaper, and then I'll probably sign up for it. But yeah, maybe I'll do that over like between my next race periods. That's it. Like my quick excerpt on like strength training. I definitely encourage any runner to do it. I mean, any person I really encourage to do it. Again, just like with running, don't overthink it. Just do it. Go to the gym. I don't know, go to your backyard, do squats, push-ups, whatever. Do something. Like, anything you do is better than nothing. And as with most things, as you start like doing it, you'll automatically do more. You'll find exercises you like. You'll kind of see what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and you will build from there. I'm convinced it makes you a better runner. I'm convinced it makes you feel better about yourself. I'm convinced it makes you look better and, you know, helps you build like a better like physique that you like. So go for it. It's part of an athlete journey. Who cares if it's called hybrid athlete or not? You want to be an overall better athlete, and that will ultimately make you a better runner and bring you results. That's it for the week. Let me know how you think about strength training. And please, as always, like, recommend whatever this video. I'll see you next week. Thank you. Hi, and welcome everybody to Big Guy Running, the podcast about going from average runner in the park to sub-3 marathoner. My experiences, learnings, and failures on this journey to become a better endurance athlete while also working a full-time job and running a family with 3 young kids.